early, but Joyce? Yep. All right, might as well get going. Thanks for everyone for attending the Strategic Asset and Planning meeting this evening. Everyone's present. We do have an apology from Councillor Maguire, who is probably not going to make it. And I believe no media. I'll just do the live stream. Please note this meeting is being live streamed and recorded and published in accordance with the Council's live streaming and recording of public meeting policy. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. Any members' declarations of interest? No. There's no one in the public forum. So we'll go to item 3, confirmation of the minutes from the Strategic Asset and Planning meeting that was held on the 15th of July. Can I have someone move Councillor Dennis and Councillor Ross? All those in favour? That's carried. Item 4, there are no matters laid on the table. So we'll go straight into reports for decision. Item 5.1, which is Livingston Street tree removal request. Mr. Wilmore.
Thank you. So we had a request to remove some trees in front of 35 Livingston Street due to the size of the trees and the concern of overhanging limbs over the supply power line and the veranda of the property. As these trees are over 5 metres, they've been brought straight to council. So both trees have been inspected by an arborist with an assessment undertaken to determine their health, structure, vitality and retention value and the associated risk to the public. We provided the report for your reference. So tree 1, which is the larger of the 2 trees, is recommended to retain the tree and undertake selective pruning. And then tree 2, which is the smaller of the trees, is to be removed, has been recommended for removal due to the ongoing decline in its health. Expected cost for these works are a bit over $3,000. With the recommendation that the pruning is undertaken on tree 1 and tree 2 is removed at council's expense. Happy to take questions.
Mr. Wilmore, does the Botanic Working Group advise that gum trees are used as street trees in streets like Livingston Street?
We're currently reviewing a street tree policy, street tree selection with the Botanic Working Group. We've had a bit of back and forward with SAP Networks and SA Water about their preferred species, so we're finalising that, and that would be taken back to the Botanic Working Group for their review when we next meet. So we don't have a preferred species list as of yet. That's currently being reviewed with the group.
Given the uninhibited growth of a tree like this, for example, it's unlikely that we'd use a tree that's going to grow to 15 or 20 metres as a street tree.
I wouldn't suggest we'd plant many of them, no.
Is there any other questions? Councillor Grundy.
Thanks, Councillor Crossling. Notwithstanding the report, I've been down there and I've looked at it, and the poor owner, the poor property owner who's made this complaint, if you like, I completely sympathise with their perspective. These trees are completely inappropriate for the position. They're beautiful trees. There's beautiful trees, and then there's beautiful trees that are in the wrong place, which is the problem. And I'd like to foreshadow that we alter the recommendation to have both trees removed, subject to the discussion in the room.
A question about the recommendation for tree number 1. In reading that recommendation, it talks about mitigating future structural issues and reducing likelihood, which are words that don't fill me with confidence about the outcome of those mitigation works. If we go down that path, what are the ongoing steps around maintaining that tree and assessing it to make sure that, you know, the risk doesn't increase in the future and things like that?
Particularly with eucalypts, any report you get will only talk about mitigation. So as you'd be well aware, eucalypts can drop limbs due to the heat as a mechanism to maintain their own health. So I'll use the Simulate, for example. We've got some large gums down there. They've recommended, or previous arborist reports recommended the trees be removed. They went through the Precinct Working Group and Council suggested they be retained, even with the suggested removal. So with gums, we just need to maintain them if we're concerned about any splits or started cracking that we could see in the tree. We'll get those assessed and reviewed again. And if that comes back that it should be removed in that instance, they'll come back to council.
So to clarify, does that become an annual check on those cracks, or are we relying on the landholders to notify us, or what becomes the kind of maintenance and review schedule?
The size of it, and now we know from that report that would be an annual check. So our Parks and Gardens team will undertake that.
Councillor Arnold?
Thanks, Councillor Crossling. Sorry, Mr Willsmore, just on that front with the trees, like if we're going to trim it, what's the cost that it's going to be for trimming? And further to that, I mean, I went past there earlier today to have a look, and it's overhanging more than just one power line, and I'm thinking it's going to be pretty significant trimming, and with the damages doing to our water table and curbing, I just wonder whether this is the right direction. If we could have some more input from you, please, on that.
Yeah, so the cost, we've got a quote for the trimming and the removal of 3,200. So that was provided in the report. So I haven't got a breakdown of.
And sorry, I meant that. How often is this likely to be that we've got to spend that sort of money? Is it going to be every 5 years, or?
Well, it depends how it grows and how it recovers. So I couldn't put a time frame on that.
Councillor Downwood.
Mr Willsmore, these are the trees that I spoke to you about a couple of months ago, and the owner of the property had said to me that there'd been a couple of prunices that had been in that position before, which had been pulled out, and these gums had been put there, and he's been after the trees to be removed for a number of years now, apparently. But I mean, as Councillor Grundy had said, you know, trees in the right place are perfect, but these trees are certainly not in the right place. And by pruning them, I just see that, you know, we're limbering ourselves with ongoing costs. It'd be better to take them out completely and put a more appropriate tree back in place, which is not going to require any expenses down in the future.
Councillor Turner, I'll just go to you first. Yep, and then Councillor Grundy, you go.
I had a look on Damien's phone and zoom in. It looks like the trees have been pruned before. So that's all regrowth halfway up by the look of it. So that tree's just going to grow larger at the base as we prune it, and it will require ongoing cost to council, whether it's footpath or tree trimming. I'd be supportive of the foreshadow motion that tree be removed on two cases. One, it mitigates the risk and removes a tree that's wrongly planted, in my opinion, and also removes the ongoing costs, which would soon outweigh the cost of removal. And these trees, I've seen these trees in another street where someone wanted to get it removed in Adelaide, and it's probably 3 times the width of that at the base, and it gets to the point where it is a real problem for many houses in terms of its size, but it simply can't be removed because it gets too big. So I'd like to support Councillor Grundy's foreshadow motion that we take the opportunity now and remove both trees.
Okay. Councillor Grundy?
Councillor Crossling, I'd like to move an alternate recommendation, and that is that we use the term that tree 1 is removed, tree 2 is removed, and the rest of it could be remaining the same. All that we're changing is the term tree 1 is pruned, rather than tree 1 is pruned, tree 1 is removed and tree 2 is removed.
Do I have any?
I'll second that.
Okay. So Councillor Grundy moves that tree 1 is removed and tree 2 is removed. And
Councillor's Expenditure.
I'll move to second that.
Councillor Rayner has seconded it. That's fine. Is there any discussion around that one? Or everyone's happy? Yep. No more discussion? Are you okay with that one?
Yep.
Cool. All right, I'll put the motion that we remove tree 1 and 2 at 35 Livingston Street at council's expense, and the resident is advised of council's decision. All those in favour? That is carried. We'll go to 5.2, which is the Naracoorte Sports Centre lighting. Mr Willsmore, do you want to add to that one?
Thank you. So, yeah, we've received advice from a local electrician regarding some faults within the car park lighting in front of the basketball club at the Naracoorte Sports Centre. The power from these lights is provided by the basketball stadium, and the sports centre lease states ownership and improvements and responsibility for maintenance is within the leasee. However, while the lights are located within the general overall lease area, the car park area is delineated by a pink line that shows council road maintenance. It's quite ambiguous, the lease, and could be interpreted either way. Either the leasee or the lessor has responsibility for the works. We've got some cost estimates for a new trench cable backfill and make good driveway, plus new poles and lights of $15,000 to $20,000, or option 2 would be make safe cabling and install some solar lights for $6,000 to $8,000. So in terms of the lease, it does cause some complications, but the lease team will review that when that is due for renewal, which is still about 9 years away. So it's recommended council assumes ownership of these light fittings and proceeds with the installation of solar light in the car park, which is option 2 to ensure the safety of users. There is no budget for these works, they were unexpected works, so this would require a budget adjustment. So the recommendation is as written. We might just make a slight change to that recommendation just to include after solar lights to be in accordance with option 2. If you could, Dee, please, just so it's clear on the option we're discussing.
Do I have any questions? Councillor Ireland?
Thank you. Mr Willsmore, I mean, it just seems a little strange to me that we've just got this quote from, they've got a quote from their electrician to do these repair works. I mean, I'm in favour of the recommendation, but I'm just wondering whether we need to, I mean, do we as a council need to have an electrician go and check the work, or are we just going to pay this electrician that the sports centre is, I mean, how do we go about it, please?
So if council endorse the recommendations, we'll proceed with our investigations and go through our procurement policy. So we'll get an electrician inspector, get an idea on what the lighting they're looking at and the like. So this has been provided by the sports centre because they supply the power. They thought it could have just been a power supply issue, but it's an infrastructure issue. So we'll go through our normal processes in accordance with our procurement policy, make sure we're satisfied with the works that are proposed to be undertaken.
Mayor Ross?
So just a point of clarification, Mr Willsmore, these are our assets and they were due for renewal in about 9 years' time, did you say?
No, the lease is due for renewal in 9 years' time. Yeah. The ownership of these assets is unclear. So we're suggesting we assume the ownership, then we'll manage it as we need to in our part of our asset management plans, and we'll capture them that way. So we undertake our condition ratings, our inspections of the light as needed. It's currently not being done because the ownership was unknown, is unknown.
Councillor Grundy?
Councillor Crossling, thanks. Similar to Councillor Ireland's comments, and the report refers to the Basketball Association Community Club initiating the initial research and investigation. Now, while you've qualified the report verbally, personally I think there's a governance issue here, and that is that, you know, I don't know who the electrician is. I don't need to know the electrician, and this matter can be removed completely. But from a governance perspective, us as a council acting on the investigation or research which has been initiated by a third party doesn't sit well with me. Now, I know that you've gone on to say that I think you said that you'd be initiating something from council's perspective to substantiate the claim. Would that be right?
Correct. Yes, that's correct. So if we proceed with it, then we'll undertake the investigations and whatever rectification needs to be done in accordance with the recommendation that we're satisfied with. So council at this stage hasn't undertaken any work apart from write the report and try to clarify the lease. We wouldn't waste our time if council weren't going to support this recommendation, but should you endorse the recommendation, we'll then, as I mentioned to Councillor Ireland's comments, we'll undertake our own investigation to make sure we're satisfied that there's a need for the works and then how the works are being carried out.
Councillor Shannon?
I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Ross, happy to second.
Yep.
Is there any more questions regarding this motion? Otherwise, I'll put
No.
No, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, just briefly, a couple of reasons. One, I think this is something that the community would strongly support, and I think it's a space that our council should be playing in to make that area safe. And I also think there is a benefit there of reduced costs for the basketball having to pay electricity to run it. So I think there's a longer term benefit. I think it makes good sense, and I agree with Councillor Grundy. There is perhaps a governance issue, but in a town like Naracoorte with only a few electricians, I'm sure any electrician that we happen to contract will probably come up with exactly the same suggestion. But I take that point, but I support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Wood? Yep.
I agree that this is something that's important and the community needs to be acted on. Just a question though, if we undertake our investigation and it turns up something different or an option is going to be more expensive, it will be coming back for further discussion?
So we've provided an indicative price in here of
Yep.
6 to 8,000. If it's significantly higher than that, we'll
Yep.
certainly bring it back to council.
Thank you.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'll put the motion that the council, recommendation council replaces the faulty light fittings at the Naracoorte Regional Sports Centre Basketball Stadium car park with solar lights in accordance with option 2. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. Item 5.3, which is the public lighting information sheet. Stuart Wilmore?
Thank you. We've just put together a one-pager on street lighting standards and what could happen if residents have a complaint about the upgraded light fittings or the brightness or light spill from the upgraded lights. So we've had a bit of discussions with other councils and SAP networks about their experience when they've undertaken audits and upgrades of street lighting. The brightness comes back as one of the points that gets raised every now and again. SAP networks have done a lot of testing on their light fittings and comfortable with their fittings, comply with relevant standards. They do get the odd complaint about light spilling into people's properties. Depending on the situation, they'll refer the resident, contact council, and then council has to contact SAP networks. And then they'll do a review, and if it doesn't create any non-compliance issues for the roadway and lighting of the roadway itself, they can install lighting shields to the rear of the light fitting. If they do, there's typically a cost between $2,000 to $2,500 for the installation that SAP networks will provide to council to pay before they undertake the works. We're suggesting that if this does occur, the costs are provided to the residents to cover the cost of the shield, the aforementioned $2,000 to $2,500. So the intention of this information sheet would just be placed on our website as a reference document for residents, and then when we do undertake a upgrade of the road, we might do a mail out with these information sheets as well, just as a bit of communication before the works are undertaken. So recommendation is to accept the information sheet and publish on council's website.
Just to ascertain whether the light's spilling into the property, does a council employee have to stay the night at their place, or?
No, Tom, no. Well, you can do that if you like, but I don't know how many takers we have for that.
Are there any questions regarding this recommendation, Mr Willsmore? If not, can I please have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Dennis moves. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Goodman. So we put that the Strategic Asset and Planning Committee recommends to council that the public lighting information sheet is endorsed and published on the council website. All those in favour? It's carried. Pioneer Park shelter replacement. Mr Willsmore.
Thank you. So, as per the report, the budget was reduced to 30,000. We said we'd bring back an estimate of these works for members' approval. So, just to clarify, we'll be installing, so it'll be a shelter similar to what was recently installed at the Francis BMX track with the concrete slab. So the only difference to that photo, that's got a new picnic setting. We'll reuse one of the existing concrete settings that's currently at Pioneer Park, and there'll be no barbecue or lighting provided to the shelter. So total cost estimates come to 32,910, which is marginally above the budget. If these works proceed, this overrun will be captured in the next budget review. Recommendation to proceed with the reduced scope for Pioneer Park shelter replacement for 32,910, and a budget adjustment is undertaken.
Do you have any questions, Mr Willsmore, regarding this one? Mayor Ross?
Well, just may. So we went to the market and said we want a shelter built for 30,000?
No.
And
So this includes demolition of the existing shelter, concrete slab, labour to install the picnic shelter. So there's a number of different items. We certainly don't say the price we want. We'll go and look at different types. So this was discussed at the annual budget review about looking at the shelters that we installed at Francis. So that's a shelter we went with.
No
Keep it
questions?
simple, I'll move it.
Councillor? You'll move it?
Yeah.
Councillor Grundy?
Councillor Crossling to Mr Willsmore. Do you think we're getting much bang for our buck?
No. So the current shelter has got 4 picnic settings. We're going down to 1. So that's, the budget's been halved, so we're trying to make it fit the budget
My question was around value.
for the community.
Correct.
So no, we're not getting value for the community for reducing the service level.
That's not really my point. My point is we're not getting much value for our spend.
32,000.
So we don't have to proceed with the works, but we've got a deteriorating asset that needs to be dealt with.
I
So
understand that.
So what did the ones at the Francis BMX track cost? About that?
they cost slightly less than that because there wasn't a demo component.
Okay.
That was just a greenfield site.
Councillor Crossling, if I could just ask Mr Willsmore, is there a local contractor that's building the?
So we'll do most of that work ourselves. So the shelter we won't do, but the slab, the demolition we'll do in-house. So that will be done by council staff.
By council, okay.
Councillor Dennis?
That definitely looks like 32,000 if anyone's done any renovating or building.
Yeah.
I think that's what 32,000 looks like.
Get you these days. So I have a mover with Councillor Turner. Do I have a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Dennis? Do I have any more comments, questions? If not, I'll put to Chamber. The Strategic Asset and Planning Committee recommends to Council that it proceeds with the reduced scope Pioneer Park shelter replacement for 32,910 and a budget adjustment is undertaken. All those in favour? And that is carried. Item 5.5, which is the Botanic Working Group.
I've just brought this back, so the term for the Botanic Working Group has expired. It expired a little while ago. I should have brought it back earlier, apologies, but we've got the terms of reference included, statement of purpose for the group, and seeking direction on if elected members wish for the Botanic Working Group to continue or if it is no longer required. If it is required, if it is wanted to be re-established, we'll need some 2 elected members to be nominated, and then we'll seek expression of interests from existing members and new community representatives to join.
Have any thoughts in the room as to, or questions, comments regarding the Botanic Working Group? Councillor Dennis?
I really, as a councillor, value what the Botanical Working Group provides. I don't really have the skills or capabilities to be on it, but I know our previous members, without speaking for them, I was always impressed with the information that was provided and the care that was taken. So I think it's a valuable working group, and I really value its opinion.
Councillor Grundy?
Who makes up that group right now?
So currently, Councillor Goodwin and
Maguire.
Councillor Maguire, and then we've got Andrew Hutchison, Benita Bader. No, she's no longer on. That's it. Yep.
Would it be possible for me to ask through the chair what Councillor Goodman's views are on the matter?
Sure. I think that the Botanic Working Group has made a valuable contribution to the decisions that Council has made. I note that Council hasn't always agreed with the recommendations from the Botanic Working Group, as is its right, and that's completely fine too. I think that it meets in a very ad hoc way, so I think that could be reasonable. It's taken a long time to, like the review of the street trees that was being discussed, that was something that we discussed at our first meeting we haven't got back to, so there's probably room for it to do a bit more work, I think, potentially. But I think that the people who are on it, particularly the community members, are really passionate about, what they can bring to council and their care of the botanical assets that we have in our district.
Councillor Crossling, I think that given that we're looking at doing work on the creek and the creek walk and whatever, that it'd be greatly advantageous to have the botanical group involved with that. So I'd certainly be recommending that we maintain them.
Have we had any conversations with the current community members around them?
No.
They don't. Meros?
I also consider, following on from Mr Willsmore's commentary about species selection coming to be put forward to council, that if we have a botanical working group, they may have more knowledge on botanical issues than the rest of us in the chamber. That may well be beneficial to for a good reason to maintain the botanic working group.
Excellent. So I think the feeling in the room is that we go with option 2 on the recommendations that the committee recommends to council that the Botanic Working Group is re-established. Is that correct? Can I ask for some nominations from councillors? Councillor Ireland?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Goodman and, if it's appropriate in his absence, Councillor Maguire to fill this role for another term.
Yeah, I'll just send him a message asking him.
Cool. We can definitely put down Councillor Goodman, and if we can possibly get a response back from Councillor Maguire, we can add him in there.
I'm happy to move that motion.
No worries, thank you.
And then if you just put the term to the 14th of November 2026, that aligns with next lot, next election for both elected members and for the working group.
And just a question around expressions of interest, is that necessary, or can we just ask our current members if they'd be happy to stay on until...
Oh, we can. We've only got 2 that terms of reference had 5 committee members, so we didn't get a lot of interest we didn't get any interest apart from the existing members last time. So we'll certainly approach them with the existing members, but we can go out for more as well.
Never know.
I would.
Might be some new ones around. Have we heard back from Councillor Maguire as yet? We can just put it in there, and I'm assuming we can. Are we allowed to do that, Councillor Jones?
Doesn't have a chair, does it? So
It's just a work.
would the chair have discretion who, we did have members of the community that are trying to think about who's on it and who's not, like it's quite a well-functioning body at the moment. I understand Councillor Goodman's question whether we, I'm not sure how to word it actually. I'll just say it'd be great to have the same people on the botanical group.
I don't think there's any harm in also putting it out there if there's, you
Yep.
never know who's come new to town that may have interest in our botanical assets. Yeah, and also this will go to the council meeting, obviously, this month, so next?
This month.
This month, so if Councillor Maguire doesn't want to be on there, we can obviously change the motion then. So I have a mover of Councillor Ireland. Councillor Rayner.
Number 3, but November 26 as well.
Okay.
Yes.
No 3 then. And seconded by Councillor Rayner. So I'll put that to the chamber that we re-establish the Botanic Working Group. Councillor Goodman and Councillor Maguire are appointed to the Botanical Working Group until November 2026, and then expressions of interest advertised for the community representatives to join, obviously including those that are currently on it, until November 2026. All those in favour? That is carried. There is no reports for information. There are no questions with notice. There are no motions with notice. Item 9, questions without notice. And item 10, motions without notice. Look at that. And item 11, matters to be considered in confidence. There are none. So the next meeting will be held on the 11th of November, and the meeting is closed at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all for attending.